Hi, my name is Jay Stoker, and the level I'm pitching is called Smoke. The idea for the level is a puzzle game where you have to manipulate objects in the real world to change how things look in a mirror to do seemingly simple tasks. The level brief I'm going to be doing is memory. I'm chose memory because recently I got diagnosed with both autism and ADHD. The process of being diagnosed has really gotten me thinking about the extra steps I have to take to do what should be simple tasks that others just don't have to do and don't understand or see my difficulty. I want to share this experience with other players in an interesting and fun, if challenging way. I'm going to be researching this by first looking at other games who have these non-Euclidean elements, such as Monument Valley, Viewfinder, and Superliminal, where perspective is the game. I'm also going to be researching magic tricks and the history behind them, because I want this level to have this performance motif, and a lot of magic is all about controlling the perspective of the audience through smoke and mirrors to perform fantastical illusions. Get the name, Smoke. Thirdly, I'll be researching other people's experience with masking and how it makes them feel, to make a more holistic understanding of the feeling I'm trying to provoke in players. Finally, I'm going to continue to gather and already have a whole ton of references for how I want the game to feel, the mechanics I want to implement, and the elements for the stages of my level. This is the mood board for the level I'm currently creating. The bottom shows the mechanics from other games I'm taking inspiration from, like how Superliminal scales its objects, how Monument Valley creates these awe-inspiring, mind-bending geometry, and how Viewfinder seemingly creates spaces from nothing, truly boggling the mind. The middle is a mix of more mechanics and the inspiration of how I want to lay out my level, with Portal and Superhot having these bare-bones environments that still encourage players to be creative. It's super cool, super interesting, and also saves time. The remaining images show the references for the three stages I want on my level, starting with the dance studio inspired stage that teaches the player the basic mechanics of the game, moving objects into the mirrors. The following stages hopefully will be a cluttered dressing room where the player has to get ready for a show, get clothes from around the room, and do other simple day-to-day tasks that quickly become not so simple. The third stage will hopefully, but may not, depending on time, will take place in a ring of circus where you must move mirrors from place to place to complete comedic tasks for a faceless crowd. For the actual mechanics of the game, the most complicated things are obviously going to be the mirrors. The base of them is relatively simple. You basically make a really reflective box, but the functionality is where things get difficult. Having players walk into it and teleporting to a different place is not that hard. Portals are the
non-Euclidean game's best friend, where you walk into something and suddenly you're somewhere else. That makes sense. I might have to do some filtering of the camera, but shouldn't be hard overall. But having the environment change and scale with perspective as you go through, objects being bigger than you expect, but looking the same size from the start, it'll be a little more tricky. I have three different ideas that may work. My first idea is basically stealing how Superliminal scales their objects. I'll have each object as positions into the mirror world, to the raycast on the opposite direction of the mirror, and move it and scale it based off the distance of the raycast. And the hard part here is we have to make sure that it only happens right as the player enters, so that way they don't hit each other, and also making sure that objects go from farthest from the mirror to closest, so that way everything goes in and we don't have a bunch of randomly scaled objects all over the place. The second idea is kind of like the first idea, but worse. Basically removing objects by a set value and scaling them by a similar thing. Or there would probably be zones of this area is smaller, this area is bigger, but it won't get much more complicated than that. Option 3 is if everything else is on fire, oh my god, I just need a product. It's basically a basic tile moving thing where you can only move things from certain lines, and then I hard code what they look like in the mirror world, which would suck and would be less fun as a player and less fun to program. So hopefully I don't have to do that one.
All these things get a lot more difficult in the third level, where the mirrors actually move and change angle and whatnot. So that's why I might do that if I have time, maybe, rather than something I'm going to promise here. Additionally, since the whole level you can see yourself, I'm going to have to add an animation to the first person player camera, which is not that bad. What does show that I do just hate myself is I want to add it so that way in the dressing room, as you go around gathering clothes to get ready for your show, have that appear on your model, which doesn't seem that hard, but customizing characters is tricky, so that idea might just get scrapped. We'll see. A visual I want at the start of each level is have it so that way you walk up to a mirror and you see somebody do the surface level of the level. So you need to leave the room. It shows somebody walk from the mirror to the door and open it. Obviously, it's not going to be that simple for you, but it should hopefully do the principle in a lot of games and a lot of animation and shows and all that of showing, not telling. By all means, I will still have a prompt of say leave the room or something like that for thick-headed players like myself, which will just forget. And like I've mentioned a couple times, but does need to be mentioned is moving objects, because that is one of the core mechanics of the game and should not be that hard to make, but is something that is worth mentioning. Final mechanic I'd like to do is using spotlights to show where key parts of the level is, whether it's a key item, or you need to be in this area, or maybe just tracking you while you're going through the mirror world. It should really add to the whole performance motif. It should look pretty cool. So far, I've only really done mood boarding and a little bit of gray boxing. I started with gray boxing my first stage because a lot of my mechanics require interaction with the actual level, and admittedly, because Unreal blueprinting systems kinda scare me. So, yeah, I'd be less scared if it was just scripting. I'm broken. I don't know. That was my pitch for Smoke. Thanks for watching. Since this is on YouTube, I'll do my legal requirements and ask you to like and subscribe for more content like this. I don't know, man. Bye!